Alright, so this is how to beat Lightsworns. This video is probably going to be a little bit funny. Should be pretty quick, because I don't really beat Lightsworns through... Okay, let me simplify it. Let's say, what, 90%? 96%, I guess. I'll say 96%. So 96% of the duels that I'm in when I'm against Lightsworns ends up me winning because I decked them out. That's just a given, because that's because they already milling themselves, and then I just like to take advantage of it. And one of the weaknesses is the fact that they can run out of cards. They can mill themselves out, because obviously they're trying to get into their combos, but in the process they pretty much hurt themselves trying to. So should have edited this a little bit more. Some of these cards ain't supposed to be here, because MST really does nothing against them, obviously, so that shouldn't be in there. Baylor against JD, you know, helps slow things down, but I think they could chain, because you know you can activate JD's effect multiple times, so I think you could chain and get the effect up anyway. But you could try. Sometimes your opponent don't have enough life points to even be able to chain. So I never use Baylor in that scenario. I just mentioned Baylor because Baylor, you know, a lot of players do play it, not just because of its effect negating ability, but I also use it because it's a spellcatcher, it's a light, it's a 1-star, and it's, you know, it's a tuner, so you can synchro, blah blah blah. So if you just so happen to have Baylor in your deck because you actually run it because it works in your deck, then you're fortunate. If you're the type of player who just throws it in because you're going up against a certain deck, or just because you want to be able to negate effects, and don't even give two fucks about the fact that it's a tuner, that's on you. You know, Baylor is basically used a lot. It's kind of like the scapegoat, as it were, of any scenario. I'm like, hey, I got this awesome combo. Yeah, I could beat it with Baylor. Like, yeah, you could Baylor it if you have Baylor in your hand. You act like your hand is so perfectly consistent. If your hand is consistent when you have Baylor in your hand all the time, you're stacking. You know you're cheating. There's no way you should be having Baylor in your first hand every time. So that's stupid to say Baylor is your answer to every scenario, because you're not going to always have Baylor. So you know, you can't say Baylor is your solution. It's like, it means nothing. Alright, enemy controller, you know, just tribute your monster, take your opponent's JD, for example. That will help you stall a little bit longer, because you have his JD, and if that's the only JD he has, he's not going to be able to do much other than end his turn, right? Let's say, and then he ends his turn, you give him back his JD. Since it's still the end phase, he has to meet the requirements of, you know, JD, and he has to mill the top 4 cards of his deck. So he'll end up having to mill 4, right? So this is just to further the whole milling them, making them deck out. So just taking his monster, making him deck out. You know, JD face down can't do his effect, right? So Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse. If you manage to be able to survive, you know, a triple JD, you know, OTK, right, with a Battle Fair, Swift, you know, Necro Gardener, you know, Battling Boxer Bailout, really good monster. It's very useful. I like him. You can use obviously Swords and Concealing Light, keep the JDs face down for a while until you can, you know, figure out a way to get rid of them. Obviously, a way you can prevent them from summoning JD would be with Soul Release, you know, control their graveyard. Plus, it helps get rid of all the Necro Gardeners they might have in the graveyard, so that it can't stop you from OTKing them. Of course, Battle Fader, Swift Scarecrow, along with Necrogardener and Battling Boxer. Obviously, the idea is to stall, so that way they deck themselves out. You know what I mean? Plus, you're just trying to prevent getting OTK'd in the first place, but then you get the added benefit of potentially beating them just by them decking out. Because I've actually done that. Double battle fader somebody while they had triple JD on the field, and during the end phase they milled 12 because they were not running an extra deck, so they couldn't XYZ into, you know, a rank 8 to avoid milling 12, so they had to mill 12. Think about it, that's 12 cards, man. That's a lot. That's like what, 1/4, I think, something like that, 1/4 of your deck if you're running a 40 card deck. So yeah, you know, and I was in a scenario where I was able to stall long enough to for him to mill 24 cards, because obviously it was his turn. He drew, he attacked, my battle fader tried to attack me directly. I battle fadered again. Main phase 2 ended his turn, milled another 12 cards. Obviously, some experienced players will activate JD's effect to get rid of the other 2, so that way you only mill 4. But again, like I said, this person did not do that, nor did he have an extra deck to XYZ summon to avoid milling himself out by a lot of cards, and he obviously eventually decked out. JD is a dragon, so I threw in Electric Virus just for the heck of it, because if you battle fader and survive, and for some reason he doesn't want to XYZ summon, he just keeps the 3 JDs and he mills himself 12 cards, then it's your turn. Well, obviously you can use Electric Virus, take JD, pay 1,000, sending the 2 JDs on his side field to the graveyard. So that's useful, right? Plus, it's the fact that you could use it for all types of stuff. You can use Electric Virus to take one of his JDs, right? Then enemy controller, combo it with enemy controller to tribute the JD you took, to take another JD, and then attack with your JD to his JD. Granted, he might have Honest, but remember, Honest is 1 per deck, so hey, take the risk. It's better than nothing. Think about it, you just got rid of 2 JDs anyway, so it doesn't matter if he Honest is and gets to keep 1. You got rid of 2, and that's all that really mattered. The point is to survive if they try to go off with JD, and then, you know, turn the duel around. We could do stuff like Lightning B, of course, blah blah blah, Dark Hole, which I don't have here, but you get the idea that you can use those if you survive the battle. Red screen obviously is only effective if you have Stardust, because obviously red screen protects Stardust. Stardust protects red screen. Plus you can use Stardust, of course, to defeat his JD, because typically some people will be like, you have Stardust but no back row. Of course, if I use my effect, you use Stardust effect and beat my JD, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to attack, kill your Stardust, and then that's it. You know what I mean? So that's why red screen with Stardust is useful, because red screen protects Stardust from being attacked, and if he tries to activate JD, you just use Stardust. So obviously it's a win-win scenario for you. Karma could just straight up get rid of JD, because in reality the only real threats are the bigger monsters. Like if they using like the Chaos version of Lightsworn, they might have BLS, Gores, Trag, shit like that. They might have some of those types of monsters. So you want to obviously be able to get rid of those monsters, because those are the ones that hit hard, while he and let him keep all his little weak sorry about that, let him keep his little weak Lightsworns that's milling him, and let him deck himself out. That's mainly how I play when I play against Lightsworns, is I just let them mill themselves out. They're already doing half the work for me. I just help them along the way of losing. I mean, they don't. The only time there'll be a threat is if the Lightsworn players start playing Exodios. You know what I mean? Start playing Exodios in their Lightsworn decks. then I'll be scared. Because on average, they just mill themselves out and lose. But if they have Exodios, oh man. Shit, even if they have Outstanding Dog Maroon. Outstanding Dog Maroon. In case you don't know what this cute, adorable little thing is, that's what he looks like. Outstanding Dog Maroon, Maroon, whatever you want to pronounce it. When this card is sent to the graveyard, add it to the deck and shuffle it. That's a mandatory effect right there. Can't miss the timing. Always goes back in the deck as long as it's sent to the graveyard. So, of course, Macrocosmos on the field, it won't work. But other than that, it'll always go back in the deck. So this is a way you could prevent yourself from, you know, milling yourself out when you're playing with Lightsworns, if you want to use them in the Lightsworn deck. But I prefer Exodios because of the ability to put all your monsters back in your deck and just re-mill them and just infinitely, you know, and then have infinite JD, right? Infinite Lightsworns is the way I will roll, but no one's really playing that way, so I benefit from just decking them the fuck out. Alright, so back to what I say. What else? Regaki Reg, you know, just get rid of JD before they can use the effect. Basically, get rid of anything that's a threat before you can do something. Skill Drain, obviously that works pretty good because that will prevent a lot of their, you know, it'll prevent JD from being able to use his effect. Lightsworns being able to use their effects to do anything really dangerous, BLS, so forth, so forth. You won't get the milling part, which will be useful just to make them lose, but at least you could prevent them from doing what they normally can do to try to win, like, you know, Delilah's, you know, pitching, special summoning, derp. You could try to prevent that. Light Imprisoned Mirror, of course, applies on the field and graveyard, so, you know, obviously that would be a great card. Most people side it in, but if you main it, good for you. You already got what you need. Save Zone. I've had this in a lot of decks, and ironically I end up going up against a Lightsworn deck, and I always have to contend with the fact that they'll be milling, then they'll drop JD, activate JD's effect, like, well, thank God I got Save Zone. So I Save Zone JD, and then Save Zone gets destroyed, JD goes along with them. So that's what Save Zone is there for. Just because a lot of times, you know, I run it in a deck, and when I go up against Lightsworn, JD hits the field. Bang, I just play Save Zone. It just reduces the chances of a triple JD. That's all that really is. Catastor. Remember, they're light types, so you could catastor them. Shit, if they got 3 JDs in their hands and a Lightsworn on their field, oh, they fucked up. Good game. They better have a Veiler, because here's Ally Adjusted Decisive Arms for that good game, right? So you could just automatically win with that. Ally of Justice Light Gazer. I'm trying to advocate that card a lot because it works great because of light types attribute decks. Start a Spark Dragon. It's just good. It's a good temporary thing. Because imagine you have no back row, but you have the ability to synchro into a synchro. You're not gonna go into Stardust. There's really no point in doing that because they could just run it over with JD, right? You don't want to Classify that makes no sense. To just activate JD's effect and get rid of Classifier, so on and so on. If you don't have the ability to make Bezel B, which would be a really good card, I should have actually had it in this list because I can't assume that no one can make that, because pretty much almost every deck can make it as long as they have a Dark Tuner. So there he is, Bezel, King of Dark Dragons. Obviously can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, blah blah blah. So he'll definitely be great against JD. Make him, you're pretty much golden. Don't have to worry about too much. He won't leave the field anytime soon, right? Unless they drop BLS, but that's just if they're playing a chaos build. Let's see, what was that? All right, so again, unless you can make Bezel, which would be a really great choice. But if you don't, and you can only generically create stuff like Stardust Dragon, Stardust Spark Dragon, then you can Stardust Spark Dragon would be the best choice, because he'll be able to protect himself from JD's destruction effect, but he'll also be able to protect himself from being attacked, because you'll just apply the effect before damage step. Of course, he enters battle, you activate the effect, target himself, he'll be protected from one attack. This doesn't completely stop, you know, you from taking a lot of damage or anything. Like, it just reduces the damage. That's what, 2,500 less damage. So if he has 3 JDs, you're only taking what? You're only taking 6,500, which is better than taking 9,000 to the face, right? So it's just a good, you know, temporary effect. You don't even have to put him in attack. Obviously, you could put him in defense and only take and only take 3,000 to the face, right? I mean 6,000 to the face. So it's just a good, you know, last minute move. It's like, you know what, this is the best move I got. Start a Spark Dragon, go. You know what I mean? If he hasn't dropped JD yet, you can use Steel Swarm Roach. Pretty much will only stop 2 of them. So if he has the 3rd one, at least you prevented the OTK. You'll survive. It's just, you know, wind up Zen main, because, you know, I use him, and of course my stroke, because of defensive capabilities, the fact that it can survive destruction, it can survive attacks by detaching. So it would take them using, what is it? They would have to spend 3,000 life points with JD, if I'm right, in order to get rid of Zen main, because you'll need 1,000 for 1 material, 1,000 for no material, and 1,000 just to wipe them out. Then drop 2 JDs to OTK. Yeah, but you know, sometimes you're fortunate enough that they're low on life points, that you might not be able to afford enough to wipe out Zen main. Same goes for my stroke. And these are just some cards you can use to mainly protect yourself. Mainly this video is more about defending yourself long enough for them to mill themselves out, because that's just the way I beat them. But of course, you know, you can have stuff to prevent them from being able to use their effects. You can use cards to Ophion so they can't drop JD, some shit like that. Like, obviously there's tons of different ways to prevent them from being able to do what they do. This is just what I do and how I think when I'm facing them in order to beat them. The way I beat them is by decking them out. So that's what this video is really about. That's how I beat them, by decking them out. And that's the end of the video.